Hi, everyone, and welcome to Soma Gold's live corporate update webinar. This is Paul Amputis from RBMG. Soma Gold is publicly listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange Venture under symbol SOMA and on the OTCQB under the symbol SMAGF. Joining us today is the company's chairman, Jeff Hampson, CEO, Javier Cordova, and CFO, Greg Hayes. We'll go through Soma's presentation, including Q2 financials, updates on recent drill results, and projections for the balance of 2021 and 2022. At the end of the presentation, we will open it up for questions for management to address. If you're interested in asking a question and are logged into Zoom, you can submit your question to us directly in the Q&A or chat. Please note this presentation is being recorded today, Wednesday, September 1st, and will soon be made available on the company's website at somagoldcorp.com. Today's call may contain forward-looking statements that are subject to risks and uncertainties that may cause actual results, performance, or developments to differ materially from those contained in the statements and are not guarantees of future performance of the company. No assurance can be given that any of the events anticipated by the forward-looking statements will occur. If they do occur, what benefits the company will obtain from them. Also, some risks and uncertainties may be out of the control of the company. Soma's full disclosure is available on slide 2 of the presentation. Lastly, RBMG is not a registered investment advisor or broker-dealer. For more information, please visit rbmilestone.com. And it is our pleasure now to introduce you, Jeff Hampson. Jeff, we're waiting for you to pull up that presentation.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Paul. Well, welcome, everybody. Thank you for attending. You may have seen that we released our Q2 numbers, which I'm going to ask Greg to speak to in a few minutes. But I wanted to just say that I think that this is a very important period for the company as we have entered into the new mine, the Cordero mine in Colombia. That is going to result in an increase in throughput in our mills to fully utilize our installed capacity. And it's also going to give us a considerable increase in average grade. So the combination of those two things is going to dramatically change the amount of cash that we're producing. And I think that the balance of 2021 and certainly into 2022 and beyond is looking very good for the company. So with that, I will turn it over to Greg to bring you up to speed on the Q2 numbers. Greg.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. I'll just hit a few things at a really high level. Essentially, we had production of 3,802 gold equivalent ounces in the quarter, which gave us revenue of 8.4 million. And an adjusted EBITDA of 1.1 million. All of these numbers are down a bit from Q1 numbers, but was basically a quarter as we anticipated as we go through the transition from Laie and Los Mangos and get into the Cordero mill feed. As Jeff said, we anticipate these numbers increasing quite a bit going forward, which Javier will talk about as he goes through the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Greg. We talked about this. So just from a high level, where, just to reiterate, we are a producing mining company based in Colombia in a very prolific area with a big land package that has enormous amounts of exploration potential. We're in a program of both developing new mines, but also developing new targets so that we can extend the life of mine beyond the 8 to 10 years that we currently have. We believe that we can increase the resource to between 1 and 2 million ounces over the next 3 or 4 years, through an internally funded exploration program. We'll talk some more about that in a bit. We have a very active ESG program. We work very closely with the local communities. We have recently begun a program. Well, we're pretty well through the program of providing COVID-19 vaccinations for our employees, our contractors, and their families. We're also in the process. It takes a long time, but we're making some real progress of formalizing the small miners. What that does is it eliminates the use of mercury. It brings these miners into the formal economy, paying royalties to the government, but also captures the gold that is being mined on the surface of our mineral rights and forces those miners to process that ore through our mill. And then from the environmental side, we are running our mine off of the run-of-river hydroelectric facility on the property. We're also connected to the electrical grid and also have backup generators, but our primary source of power is very clean hydropower. And we've got a very experienced management team. Our team in Colombia have been working at this mine for, on average, about 10 years. They understand the region. A lot of them are actually from the region, and they've got a proven track record of making this mine profitable and cash flow positive, even when the price of gold was down at around $1,100 an ounce. So we feel very confident that we've got the right team in place, we've got the right asset, we're in the right location, and we're in a very, very good country for mining. So I think we've really set the stage over the last couple of years to turn Soma from essentially an exploration and development company into a full-born mining company. So with that, I'll turn it over to Javier to kind of run through, our existing infrastructure and some of the exploration potential.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I think that most of the people attending this webinar have already seen the presentation, so I'll run through it. Basically, we own two mills in Colombia, the El Bagre mill of 450 tons per day, that is right now producing out of 3 mines officially. Since mid-August, we've been producing out of La Yea and Mangos basically for the last couple of years, and we started development of the Cordero mine in late 2020. We have already reached the ore body, and we have started production from Cordero also since August 15. We have already mined more than about 2,300 tons out of Cordero, and this is I'll give that information in a bit. Really encouraging for us, because that's the new mine that we're going to produce, has a much better grade. Actually, we're mining at a higher grade than that we expected. So the results are really good. The El Bagre mill is the one active right now. Our production in 2020 was 17,200 ounces. Our forecast in 2021 is to go over 20,000 ounces, and going to ramping up in 2022 to more than 30,000 ounces of gold. And we also have the other mill, the Limon mill, that is right now in care and maintenance. That's a 225 tons per day mill that we are starting some tests in order to restart it as soon as possible. The reason for this now is that we have enough production coming out of La Yea, Mangos, and Cordero to fully utilize the El Bagre mill and to restart the Limon mill. So that should happen. The first testing on that mill should start in the next couple of days.
And Javier, I might just mention that the El Bagre mill and the El Limon mill are about 10 kilometers apart from each other. And the mines that we're currently operating from are between the two mills. So there's no increase in cost in transportation. They're both on the property.
Yes, we could show you that in the next couple of slides, so you can see where the two mills are. So this is again just the forecast, what we produce in 2020, our forecast for 2021, and for 2022 and 2023. That's coming. Basically, will come from production in 2021, production from La Yea and Mangos, 2022. This was something that you mentioned, Paul, that some of the investors wanted to know. I can give precise information on Laie and Mangos. We expect to have production from Laie until March of 2022. Approximately 2,500 ounces will still come from Laie, and Mangos will go until May of 2022 with approximately 6,100 ounces coming from Mango. So between both, we still expect to have about 8,600 ounces coming from Laie and Mangos, and of course the rest of it will come from production from the Cordero mine. And in late 2022 also we are planning to get some production starting from the Chi, the additional project that we have. I'll show you in the next slides.
And just a quick comment here. We say that the average grade is going to go from 4.5 grams per ton, which is what our average has been up until the end of the second quarter for 2021. And we expect it to go on average up to 6.5 grams. But in fact, because the grade is higher at Cordero than what we were expecting, we're now thinking that this is going to be closer to 7.5 grams per ton.
It's actually to give precise information on that, out of Laie and Mangos, I already gave you the production. Laie will produce 17,400 tons, Mangos 49,600 tons, and that gives us an average of 4.2 grams per ton for the remaining of that production of the two mines. So that's in the average that you said, Jeff. And yes, we were expecting 6.5 grams per ton in average from Cordero, but we're getting right now at an average of 9 to 10 grams per ton. So this is senior management. I don't know, Jeff, if you want to give a brief background about yourself and maybe Greg, and then I'll continue.
Sure. So I've been around the mining and resource sector for many years. I've built a couple of different companies and sold a few of them along the way, and have a lot of contacts in the financial industry, as well as in the business community at all. Greg, do you want to give yourself a little introduction there, Greg?
Sure. I've been, I guess, either CFO or CEO of a number of different exploration companies over the last 15 years or so. So been in charge of different things from the accounting financial side to the raising money and management side. And happy to be part of Soma going forward.
Thank you, Greg. So I'm Javier Cordova, President and CEO of the company. I've been involved in the mining sector for the last decade, both in the public and private sector. I was the Minister of Mining for Ecuador for 4 years and was able to really restart mining in Ecuador, attract investment, work with the communities in order to allow operations to advance. And after I left that position, I've been involved in the private sector. Before Soma, I worked with Wood Mackenzie as a consultant in different countries in the world. And after that, I joined Soma about 2 years ago, first as a consultant, then in charge of business development, and I've been the president and CEO since February of last year. We have a very strong board of directors, a couple of names. Yanis Tistos, he's been involved in the mining sector all his life, 19 years in BHP Billiton, has worked with exploration companies in more than 32 countries, so he understands very well the activity and how to manage mining in different countries. Natasha Kierman, she's the last one who joined our board of directors. She's a lawyer, a consultant, more than 14 years experience, specializing in transaction in mining. So really strong board of directors. And Edwin Naranjo, he's our QP, our manager of explorations in Colombia. Like Jeff mentioned, he's a Colombian guy. He's very well experienced. He's from the area, so he really understands the geology where we're located right now, and that I think gives us a great advantage.
And one just additional thing about Natasha is that she is involved with the Endeavor Group out of Vancouver. And so she sits on the board of a number of their investments, including Atlee Mining, which formerly Telson Mining. And and she's also on the board of Empress Royalty. So really knowledgeable and well-connected director.
So where we're located, as you know, we're in Colombia, in the Antioquia province. I would say this is one of the most prolific areas in Colombia. 56% of the total gold production is coming from that province, and 90% is coming from the 10 municipalities where we are located, between Segovia and Remedios to the south, to El Bagre, Zaragoza, and Nechí to the north. So basically, we are in the heart of a very important gold district in Colombia, and very underexplored. Even though there's a lot of production, it has been historically a lot of production in the area, but it's still very underexplored, with a lot of presence of small miners and artisanal miners in the area. That's
all right, going the wrong way. There we go.
So in country risk, I think that Colombia presents an acceptable risk in when you look about doing business in Colombia. The country risk, I would say I'm Ecuadorian, so I understand very well that the Andean countries, not only Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, now Chile. So all around you face a different kind of challenges. Not only like I said, in Colombia or Ecuador, you're seeing challenges now in Peru, you're seeing challenges now in Chile. But with that, I think Colombia presents a very acceptable risk. When you go to the business, I think it is a country that is very stable politically. You haven't seen any kind of complicated things in Colombia like you have seen in Ecuador or in Peru, unfortunately. There was a couple of months during the year with some problems and riots, but I think that the government was able to manage that. So I don't think that I don't see Colombia as a really high risk country. Also with security, that's also important, and we have always the support of the government and the army when we need to have any kind of support in different ways. I'll talk about it in the next couple of slides. So where we are located exactly, this is the concessions. As you can see, there is the ones highlighted in yellow. Nechí to the north is another of our properties that I will refer in the next couple of slides. And El Bagre and El Limón, that's where we have our two mills. And that yellow area is where we have our concessions. There's a very favorable infrastructure that you have a paved road from Medellin to El Bagre of about 600 kilometers. But now they're building I would say about 70% completed, a new highway that will basically cut in half the time that you take right now from El Limón from Medellin, to El Bagre. Right now you will take about 6 hours if you drive, and with the new road you will that will be cut in half. And you also have an airport, small airport at El Bagre that we use. You have 2 daily flights from Medellin, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. That's a 25 minutes flight, so it's very easy to get to the operations and all the infrastructure that you need. This is a zoom in of our concessions. If you look to the left, Jeff, and if you can help me there, to the left, then you see Nechí to the north and El Bagre and El Limón to the south. And in between, you can see the Nechí River. Why this is important? That's where Mineros, a Colombian company, it's mining with the dredge and producing about 80,000 ounces of gold per year at the Nechí River. That river flows north, so in the map it flows up, and that gold is basically draining from the area where we have our concession. So we're very well located. If you go to the zoom in, Jeff, you can show Laie and Mangos. Those are the mines that we're producing right now. Those are the 2 mines that we're producing. And a bit to the south where it says Balbina Cordero, that's the 3rd mine that we just opened and start production last month. In between, a bit to the south where it says El Bagre is where we have our mill. And those areas that Jeff was showing, El Limón is where we have the other mill. So they are very close together, about 10 kilometers apart, and 2 different roads that you can take the material from our production at Operadora to the north to El Limón. And also we have identified those areas in the squares are the targets that the team has identified for exploration. So, for example, at the Limón, where we're drilling right now, in that trend from Estrella to Diamantina, that's farther south of Alacrán, that trend is about 7 kilometers long, with the Limón mine right in the middle. That's a mine that has produced more than 60, 70 years. So that's a very interesting trend that we're drilling with both of our drill rigs right now in order to get some information on resources from that area, but also looking farther to the south where it says Limoncito, Murcielaguera. Those are very interesting targets also that the team has that we will be drilling as our exploration plan in 2022.
And I mean, just to add in here, all of these targets are based on small miners that have been working there, and we've gone into the cuts, and in some cases there's some small underground workings. We've measured the strike of the vein, we've measured the width, and we've taken channel samples, and we're seeing some very favorable indications here that there's a considerable amount of gold in this southern part of our property. And we know from experience in mining these veins that they tend to be open at depth. And so we've actually seen at El Limón, the grade increased as we went deeper. And we think that there's a very good opportunity down here in the south.
So as a summary of our operations, we are right now mining out of three mines, Tlayé, Mangos, and currently from Cordero. The average production that we have had until last month was between 14 to 1,500 ounces of gold. We just finished the last month of August with 1,950 ounces of gold. So we were really close to our target for the end of the year, that was to mine 2,000 ounces of gold per month. So this is what we were expecting. As you can see in the presentation, we were expecting to have, we were having an average production of 1,400 to 1,500 ounces of gold, and that it was going to grow to about 1,800 to 2,000 ounces of gold by the end of 2021. Actually, we just achieved that. So that's very encouraging news coming from, and due to the fact that Cordero, we just started mining 15 days ago. So that gives us a very interesting information for the future. Right now, life of mine is 7.3 years, but since we are exploring, our idea through exploration is to increase life of mine to about to more than 20 years. We have a 43.
Sorry,
Yes.
Javi, I just if I can add in there, that 7.3 years is based on a NI 43-101 report that was done in May of 2019. Since that time, we've done more than 50,000 meters of drilling, and we have shown that the Cordero deposit continues to the north and also at depth. We have added ounces there, but we're not expecting to have RPA come back to do an updated 43-101 until probably the end of this year. But in addition to the drilling that we've done at Cordero, we've also done drilling on the Diamantina, Alacrán, Estrella trend, which we also think will add ounces because we're encountering the vein at depth. And so there's a lot of upside to that life of mine calculation.
Yes, Jeff, and also we have the Nechí gold mine that in the previous map, you can see it to the north. It also has a 43-101 resource estimate of about 120,000 ounces of gold. This mine was already partially developed by Mineros, their previous owner. So a decline and multiple drift into ore has been already completed. So we're waiting for final permitting on that mine so we can complete the hoist and ore bin. And we're looking to get into production in the second semester of 2022. That mine can also add about 350 tons per day production that can be milled at our Bagre location. So as a summary for both the 43-101, we have 220,000 ounces of gold, with 61,000 ounces are proven and probable. Measured and indicated additional 160,000, but like Jeff mentioned, we're planning to get RPA that did this 43-101 in 2019 to go to the mine so we can update that information with all the drilling that we made in the last couple of years. This is the Cordero mine that we just started mining. So there's where it says Phoenix. If you can show it, Jeff. This is the decline, the entrance to Phoenix that you can see in the picture down there. We went into level 2. That's where we're mining right now, at level 2. We reached the vein, we cut the vein, and we're mining at that area. And we also are advancing to level 3. That should be completed by the end of this month of September. So in September, we expect to have production coming out of level 2 and out of level 3. And we are also building a third decline where it says Athena, that is going to go into the ore body that should be completed in the last quarter of 2021. So this is the new mine, 120,000 ounces at an average grade of 6.2 grams per ton. Right now, we have started mining at an average of between 9 to 10 grams per ton, so higher than expected. Jeff mentioned that we have been drilling to the north of Cordero, and these results have shown that there's a strong potential that resource could grow to the north and down deep.
And I might just mention here that we said in an earlier slide that we were expecting our all-in sustaining cost to drop considerably down to around $850 per ounce in the coming year. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that the grade is almost double what we have been mining. And of course, it costs the same amount of money to mine and to mill a ton of ore, whether it has 4.5 grams per ton or whether it's got 9 grams per ton. And then also we will be upgrading our throughput. So we're going to be utilizing the 100% of our installed capacity. But another thing that will increase or decrease the cost of mining is that we're going at Cordero to mechanized mining. So as opposed to historically, it has been more of a traditional underground mining for Colombia, where there's hand loading, using jack legs for drilling and blasting, hand loading rail cars, taking those rail cars to a central skip, and then taking it up to a bin at the surface. In Cordero, we will be operating with jumbos, with scoops, and with 20-ton trucks. That will dramatically reduce the cost of mining.
These are our two mills. The one in the top, the El Bagre mill, the 450 tons per day that we're using and producing right now. And in the lower area, that's the El Limon mill, 225 tons per day in care and maintenance. But like I said, we're planning to restart that as soon as possible, so we can fully utilize both of the mills with the production that is going to come, that is starting to come from Cordero, Layé, and Mangos. Both of our facilities have very good security. We have a team with a private company that operates at both of our operations, at El Bagre and El Limon. We also have a formal agreement with the Colombian Army, so we can have a squad always present at our operations. They actually have the Colombian Army. They actually have a very important battalion that controls all of the area around the province. That is about 10 minutes drive from the El Bagre property. So they're always present. We have a great relation, and that gives us a lot of confidence. And also our gold ore bars are always transported to the refinery by helicopter. So once we have finished with the pouring process, we have it very well timed and coordinated with the helicopter. It will pick it up. So we minimize any kind of risk in the area. Like mentioned before, the two mills are about 10 kilometers apart. That journey takes about 40 minutes, and there's two different ways that you can go from one mill to the other. So if you have any kind of problem with one of the roads is closed or something, you have an additional way of reaching the other mill. Both have a capacity combined of 675 tons per day, but they're fully permitted to basically double that capacity to 1,400 tons per day, if needed, of course, through production, but the permitting is ready. We are also, Jeff mentioned, we have an exploration and resource expansion program in place, working right now, active, that is fully funded from operations, from our cash flow. For 2021, we have a 26,000 meters drill program. We have a plan for a 4-year, $10 million plan to be funded, like I mentioned, out of cash flow. All permits are in place for all the 29,000 hectares that we have. The team has identified from the works from the small miners Jeff mentioned in the previous maps that all those different stars or points are small mines from artisanal miners. So we have that information. We have gone inside that, since we have a great relations with them, since we're working with them and with the government to formalize their activities. They don't see us as an invader, but as their partners. So we go into their mines. We can measure the width of the veins. We have some information, and that has given us the possibility to identify targets for additional 750,000 ounces that we're searching through exploration. We own 2 drill rigs, and that allows us to operate our own exploration with a much lower cost than market. Our cost for drilling is about $60 per meter. And again, our program is fully funded from operations. And in this process, we have also been encountering new veins that we weren't expecting. So I think that the probability of having good results in explorations are really high. And we plan also to run a geophysics survey for all of our property in early 2022. This is I mentioned before, the trend of between Estrella and Diamantina. Here is just shows Alacrán to Diamantina. El Limón is to the north. In this case, to the left is where you have the mine El Limón, and Estrella is farther to the north. So this Alacrán is a small mine, the Lirios are a small mine, and Diamantina is a small producing mine already formalized with the government. So we are drilling in this area. One of the drill rigs is down deep from Diamantina and getting some results where Jeff is pointing. That's one of the results of one of the drill holes, 7.2 grams per ton over a vein of about 0.8 meters. And that's 150 meters below of level 1. If you can show Jeff where level 1 is here, that's level 1. So this is where Diamantina, the small mine, is mining right now. This is level 1, and they're mining at an average grade of 9.8 grams per ton. So we are drilling 150 meters below, and we are encountering very interesting results from that. So what we're trying to do, and we have already moved the other drill rig that was to the north of Cordero. Jeff mentioned that we believe that Cordero, it's the new mine, it's open to the north. We moved the other drill rig to this area between Alacrán and Diamantina because our idea is to drill all this area before the end of the year, so we can get the information once RPA goes to update the 43101. So this is between Alacrán and Diamantina. It's about a 1 kilometer trend that we believe it's full of resources. Jeff mentioned our environmental, social, and government for us it's really important. The picture to the top, that's our tailings dam, very well managed by the team. That picture, the lower picture, that's at the hydroelectric plants where we get our electricity. We are very active with the community. We employ 600 people at our operations. And I would say basically 95% of the people are from the region, from Del Bagre and Zaragoza. Jeff mentioned that we got into a program for vaccinating people against COVID-19 for all of our employees, their families. We actually completed the second stage yesterday for the second dose for the people. So right now about 350 people are vaccinated from our employees. So that's more than about 60% of our employees are already vaccinated, and we will have an additional program by the end of September. And we are also very active with the communities, with the health system, with providing them any kind of support they need for help. And governance also, Soma, the board of directors have implemented a comprehensive governance and anti-money laundering and anti-corruption policies that are monitored by a subcommittee of the board. So we're very active in all of these issues. Safety also, this is something that we implemented when we bought Operadora Minera more than a year ago. We didn't find that there was enough programs for safety, and the level of accidents that we received were really high. So we have implemented different kind of programs, as you can see, training the people and making them really understand that safety for us, it's a high priority, and that everybody needs to be really involved and make it really natural for all the employees in the different levels to be very worried about safety. And we're seeing very good results, maybe not where we want to go, but the results are really good if you compare it to the last couple of years at Operadora.
Thanks, Javier.
Sure.
So just to quickly talk about the balance sheet and our cash flow, we have a number of different debt instruments. The first one is a gold loan to Nuevo Grande. The original amount was $5 million. We're down now to somewhere probably around $2 million. The repayment of that loan is 12% of the first 25,000 ounces. And we will be completed that phase by December or January. So December of this year or early January of next year. We're producing more ounces now than we had originally anticipated. So I'm pretty confident we'll have that first phase done by the end of the year. Then we have to pay 6% of the next 22,500 ounces, which will be completed by the middle end of 2022. So by the end of 2022, that loan will be paid in full. The Connex loan is a 21 million, maybe slightly more right now, 21 million Canadian dollar loan. Its interest is accruing. We are technically have a 4-year grace period, meaning that the payments would start on March of 2024, amortized over 6 years. But the reality is that we will be in a position to pay that off much more quickly. We'll use the proceeds of the warrants, outstanding warrants, which we believe will be exercised to reduce this debt. And we think we can probably have this paid off by 2024, 2025. So if we take all of the cash flow that we anticipate, we can pay it off sooner, but it's likely that we will not do that. The warrants that I mentioned, there's 30 million warrants outstanding at 25 cents, which expire at the beginning of July of next year. Glenn Walsh and I own 20 million of those. And those will be exercised, and we expect the balance of those warrants to also be exercised. So from a long-term perspective, with the increase in the production of ounces and the reduction in the all-in costs, we expect that we will be generating considerable cash flow in the years to come. The math is relatively easy. If you assume that we're making about $900 an ounce and that we're going to be producing between 30 and 35,000 ounces, then you can deduce from that what kind of cash flow will be generated. We'll be updating our forecast in the next couple of months, and it'll be a 5-year forecast that will show what kind of cash can be generated by this operation. It is a low cost facility, and we bought it very well. I'll remind those people on the call that we paid $5.5 million for the El Bagre facility, and have about $6 or $7 million invested in El Limon. So on a combined basis, we've invested about $12-13 million into Colombia, and in 2023 we should generate EBITDA, in multiples of that. And again, because of the cash flow that is being generated by the operations, no new funding is contemplated. So again, if we look at the comps, these are all small producers, not exact fits, but sort of directionally indicate where the market is valuing producing gold mines. And you can see on enterprise value to EBITDA, we're trading at 1.17 times, and that's the trailing 12-month EBITDA versus the comps at 17.34 times. If we do forward EBITDA, we're trading at about 0.8 times forward EBITDA market cap. So lots of room for us to grow. And a lot of this also is driven by like resources and production. Of course, annual production will go up. The resources is going to go up as well. So we think that Soma is well poised to see a run in the stock. We're currently trading at 30 cents a share. That gives us a market cap of just under $19 million and an enterprise value of around 33 million. There's 64 million shares outstanding, 43.5 million of warrants, but only, as I mentioned earlier, only 30 million of those warrants are in the money. A bunch of them are going to expire before the end of the year. And the balance are between $1.50 and $3. And so unlikely that they will be exercised. I hope that they are, but all of the outstanding warrants expire by 2023. Less than 5% of the outstanding shares in options. And so on a fully diluted basis, it's 110 million, sorry, but in reality, because 15 million of these warrants are not likely to be exercised or will expire shortly, it's really more like around 95 million shares. And Insiders Management Group owns 68%. That's of the issued and outstanding. Once all the warrants are exercised, that number goes up a bit. Yeah, so we're looking at a pretty interesting increase in share price if we come close to the comps. So it's a pretty compelling story. We think that we're really poised right now to turn this thing. I mean, it's been making money and generating positive cash, but when we bought it, the previous owner had not invested into the mine development that they would normally have invested into if they were going to keep it. So we had a year where we had to go and do the development work for Cordero while we were dealing with, relatively small amounts of mine production and relatively small grams per ton. We are now, almost completed on the Cordero mine, and just mining 15 days in August, as Javier said, at a higher grade of 9 grams per ton has given us a 47% increase in the number of ounces produced compared to the average number of ounces produced per month in the first 6 months of the year. And because we've got the additional production, we can use the full capacity of our mills. So more than, we've been running at about 330 tons per day on a combined capacity of 675 tons. So we're going to see, a gradual ramp up, but by the end of the year, utilizing that full capacity. So our, grade is doubled, the throughput is doubling, and that's going to result in a big increase in the number of ounces that get produced on a monthly basis. We've got a really good piece of land in a great area in Colombia, one of the leading producing regions of Colombia. There's not been a lot of, other than the drilling that we've done in the northern part of the property, there has not been a lot of drilling on it. We know that there's a lot of gold on the property because of the activities of the small miners. And we think that there's a very good opportunity for us to at least increase to 750,000 ounces, but the upside potential is a couple of million ounces. And it's very important these days to be active with ESG, and we've always have been. Part of our original plan was to work with the small miners to eliminate the use of mercury. and to bring those small miners into the formal economy and give them, real businesses so their kids can go to school and they can get good health care. And I think that, we're well considered by the community because we're considered, as Javier said, to be their partners and making their lives better. So we've got good, strong cash flow, low overheads. We've got a life of mine that's going to increase from the current 7 years to, probably around 15 years within the next couple of years. And we're increasing our shareholders' value by reducing and eliminating corporate debt. So that we'll be completely debt-free by 2024. And, because we've, the insiders in particular, we've put a lot of our own capital into this, we're very keen to see some sort of return on capital. And so it's likely that as we pay off the debt, we will return some of that cash to shareholders by way of dividends and normal course issuer bids. Well, that's it. So thank you very much. I've got a few pictures here we can just show you. This is the new Phoenix portal. These are our jumbos, working in the mine. You can see this is a this is a pretty professional mine. It's been well designed. This is the Athena portal. This is a different kind of portal. This is for an angled skip that comes up, but it's going to be used primarily for egress for employees and also to improve the airflow in the mine. But we'll also bring ore out of here. And then this is the Cordero mine. This is the Phoenix portal that Javier was talking about, the Athena decline at the southern end. And then these are the three operating mines, just to give you an idea of how close they are to each other. This is La Ye, this is Mangos, this is the Cordero. In the middle here, there's a fault line on both ends. We believe that this vein is continuous, but that a piece of it is shifted. We just don't know where it's shifted to yet. But you can see it's and this represents a very small percentage of our total land package, but it's very typical of the veins that are on the property. Anything else you want to add, Javier?
No, I think that basically covers everything.
So Paul, if you want to move to the question and answer part of the presentation, I think we're ready.
Thanks, guys. And we have been receiving questions during the presentation. If you have answered some of them, I'm going to ask them again, just so people who listen to the recording can hear your answers. But the first question that we received, and the attendee wants to understand correctly, are you able to generate sufficient feed at an economical grade?
Yes.
Yes. I think we've been mining profitably at an average grade of 4.3, 4.4 grams per ton. But over the next 7 years, we're expecting that grade to increase to between 6.5 and 8.5 grams per ton, with exactly the same costs.
And what is your current ore production with the new mine, and how much can come from small miners?
Javier, I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. So we're right now producing, as I mentioned, we're producing. We finished August with 1,950 ounces of gold equivalent, with about 12,000 tons in the month. So the capacity of the plant is 12,700, approximately 2,700 tons per month. So right now with Cordero, we are reaching that capacity. That's why we're planning into getting the Limon plant back up and running, so we can get the excess production that we're going to get from Cordero right now. So our production, we expect to, like I mentioned in the presentation, we were mining at an average of 1,400 to 1,500 ounces per month. Right now we are already reaching 2,000 ounces, and our idea is, of course, to keep that level and to grow that amount in 2022. And as soon as we can get the El Limon plant, I think that we can go even higher. From the small miners, we are working actively with the government on getting all the permits ready. We have one that is basically fully permitted right now, that is Diamantina, that is producing about, small mines producing about 25 tons per day. So that should add, I don't have a specific number right now for how much we can get, because we depend a lot on getting all the permits. But once everything is placed, I expect by the end of the year, at least a couple of small mines or 3 small mines can be fully permitted. That should add to the production that we have right now.
And I think maybe just to add to that, we have the capacity from a processing perspective to do more like around 18 to 19,000 tons per day on a combined basis between El Bagre and El Limon. But from a feed perspective, with Cordero, Laie, Mangos, the small miners, and Nechi, which is going to be coming on around the middle of next year, we will have more mine production than we'll have milling capacity. So we'll build a stockpile. We'll continue to make sure that we have consistent production. And then probably towards the end of next year, we will be faced with making a decision as to whether we want to increase the capacity, because as Javier mentioned, both El Limon and El Bagre are fully permitted for an increase in capacity. We could take El Bagre, for instance, from its current 450 tons per day to 1,000 tons per day. And that would result in us being able to process around 1,250 tons per day on a combined basis. If we had enough ore, we could even increase the capacity at El Limon. So each of these decisions to increase capacity and to utilize the capacity will be based on the economics. So how much ore do we have? How much gold is in that ore? What can we justify in terms of increasing our capacity?
Thanks, Jeff. Please provide a sense of dilution in the mining performance versus the NI 43-101, and how is narrow vein mining handled?
All the numbers that we've been presenting right now are diluted. So when we present those numbers, the average grade that we're mining right now, 4.6, 4.5 grams per ton, those numbers are already diluted. Narrow veins it's basically the system that we encounter in our operations. So we usually find veins of about 1 meter, 0.8 meters. But now in the new mine, the Cordero mine that we're just started mining, the veins have been, hopefully they will maintain at that size, but we have been encountering veins of 2.5 meters, 3 meters in width. So, but like I said, basically all of operations work with narrow veins. That's the system that we encounter in that area in Colombia. And all the information that is provided is already diluted. So in the case for Cordero, again, the grade that we presented that we're mining right now, that we encounter in these first couple of weeks of production of about 9 grams per ton, 10 grams per ton is already diluted. The grade at the vein is about 19 grams per ton in some areas.
And is there any chance to bring the cash cost per ounce down?
I'll answer that. I think the answer to that is yes, there's always an opportunity. And we're going to, because of the change in the mining method, which is more efficient, because the grade is higher, and because the throughput will maximize the throughput and fully utilize our capacity, those are going to dramatically decrease the cost per ounce. But there's always ways to shave another $1 or $2 or $5 per ounce off of the operations, and we will be constantly looking for ways to become more efficient and to save those costs.
So we have a three-part question here. I'll ask it slowly. Does each plant have its own tailings facility? What are the capabilities of the tailings facilities in years, taking into account the expected increased production? And can the facilities be expanded?
Yes, Raciel that is asking that question. Yes, both of the facilities, both of the mills have their own tailings dam. Actually, the El Limon mill, we have a brand new tailings dam. It hasn't been used yet. So the previous one that we were using, that's already done. And we built a new tailings dam a couple of years ago that hasn't been used. So it's like a brand new tailings dam for El Limon. At Operadora, we have our tailings dam right now. You saw at one of the slides the picture of the tailings dam at Operadora. That has still a capacity of about 3 more years. There it is. So that has still a capacity of 3 more years, but we already have the design, the cost, and everything for an additional tailings dam that we're going to build when this one gets ready to expire.
I think the other thing that I should mention is that the tailings dam at El Bagre is a tailings pond, as you can see. But what we're doing now is we're using geobags, which is a way of doing dry stacking. And so the tailings slurry gets pumped into these large woven bags, and you can see them around of the tailings dam. And so what happens here is that the water leaks out. It is mostly free of contaminants, and the resulting is a berm that is encased by this polypropylene woven material. And then we'll be able to fill in the space in the middle with additional bags. So it's a relatively inexpensive way of doing dry stacking. And this gives us quite a bit of additional capacity in this pond. But we're also looking at more traditional dry stacking equipment, where we would have some sort of a filter press, and we would reduce the moisture content down to 1 or 2%. And then you can stack it in a kind of a more conventional sense. You don't need as much water treatment or as much space. So there's a number of different options for us going forward, but we've got quite a bit of capacity right now.
Yeah, and if you can show, Jeff, in the area in between where we don't have yet this completed. Well, you were mentioning these geotubes. So yeah. We're going to complete that area with the geotubes. We haven't done it yet because there was a power line there that we're moving right now in order to complete it. But just to complement your idea. And like I said before, also actually there's a complete design for a new tailings dam that was made a couple of years ago by Mineros. So in the case that when we need it, it's everything. It's ready, the location, the permits, and everything so we can expand this tailings dam if needed.
And as far as the old tailings dam at El Limon is concerned, that has now been completely remediated because it was in the path of the new highway that Javier mentioned that is going from to Medellin, and it goes right across the back corner of our property, which we sold to the government. But then they came in and they cleaned up all of the old tailings for us. So that there's no remediation obligation on the old tailings dam at El Limon.
No, and actually we already had the visit, the inspection from Cor Antioquia on the old tailings dam, and everything went well. So that was ready, done.
Okay. Before we close, and unless anybody else has a question, I'm going to ask a question that we have received prior to the start of this webinar. And guys, we've also been, this question has also come up during some of the investor calls that we've been in. What are you telling investors who are concerned about your jurisdiction as a country risk, and also the liquidity on the stock?
On the first question, I think that Colombia is a country that managed that the risk is very acceptable. I don't see it in any way. Again, I'm Ecuadorian, so I understand what it means to have or to make a business in a jurisdiction that is very unstable politically and that changes the conditions for mining or for business quite easy. This case, you don't see that in Colombia. I think that it's politically very stable. I see it as a very strong jurisdiction. Of course, everybody knows the problems regarding the security, drug dealing in Colombia, but I think it's very well managed. I personally travel to Colombia every other week, so half of my time I spend not only in Medellin, but I go to our mine. So I fly from Medellin to El Bagre. They pick me up, and El Bagre, I'll drive to our operations. That it's from the airport about 15 to 20 minutes to the mine. I spend at least a couple of nights, 2 to 3 nights per week that I spend more time at the mine than I spend at our office in Medellin. So I don't really see Colombia as a high country risk jurisdiction, and on the other side, I think that it's a country that is very well respected for respecting the rule of law and complying with what they offer to investors.
I got a private note asking about warrants expiry, and so I've just put it up here so everybody can see. This has been updated as of the end of August, so this is very current, but you can see that 11 million of the warrants will expire by November of this year. The 26.7 million are in the money, and we expect, as I said, most of those are owned by insiders. And then there's a few other bits of there, but the thing is that the number of warrants within the next 8 or 9 months will drop by 37 million. Now, as far as the liquidity is concerned, we've been putting out news releases over the last 6 to 8 months that I consider to be very good news, and it hasn't moved the stock. We don't have a lot of selling, but neither do we have a lot of buying. And so I think the trick now is that as we actually deliver on the initiatives that we have been talking about, namely that we're going to get into Cordero, that we're going to increase the average grade, that we're going to increase the number of ounces that we produce, that we're going to produce a considerable amount of cash flow and EBITDA and net profit. All of those things are going to start coming out. There's good news about August production will be published tomorrow, and other as we do additional quarterly releases on the financial, the picture is going to get increasingly better. And I'm starting to get phone calls from people who are saying, we don't understand what's going on. We've been watching you. What can you tell us? I think that we're going to start to see additional volume. We're also going to Europe in October to talk to existing and new investors there. This is the kind of story that European investors really like. I think that as the good news continues to come out, we're going to start seeing some action. It's going to be hard, for the stock to stay at 30 cents a share when we're producing 30, 40, 50 cents a share worth of EBITDA, in the next 12 months. So I think per share. So I think the liquidity issue is an issue, but I think it's an opportunity as well, because there's this in my opinion, and I'm biased, but in my opinion, this is a very, very good value.
Yeah, thanks guys, and thanks everyone for joining today's webinar. Again, today's webinar recording will soon be made available on the Soma Gold website. Again, that's somagoldcorp.com. If anybody has additional questions for us, please feel free to email us at soma@rbmilestone.com. Again, that's soma@rbmilestone.com. Please, you're now free to disconnect.